All right. So one of the topics that I've been really focusing on these days is the profitability of Tesla, the margin discussion, right? Because of the debate amongst the Tesla Twitter community about volume versus margins. Many stock investors, Tesla stock investors, were complaining about the margin being compressed, pricing cuts. Um, but then, of course, Tesla's been talking a lot about, especially the last Investors Day, they spent 4 hours talking about every department's focus, relentless focus on cutting costs down. And so I wanted to just talk to you about this, understand where you think all the different ways that Tesla is going to be able to reduce margin, the cost of producing the car. So why don't we start with first, like volume versus margin? Very curious where you landed on that debate.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tesla will have room to take out costs uh, forever, but with diminishing returns. I think Model Y is probably getting to a point where the best way to take costs uh, the best way to take costs out is by scaling the lines and just cranking out as many cars as humanly possible and increasing margins through scale plus software. Model 3 has room from a cost perspective, just straight up. Again, that Fremont line for Model 3 is a disaster. So getting that fixed is great. Redoing it in Shanghai is great. So you'll definitely take cost out there, but scale will also help. So depending on how many more units I want to crank through that, it's going to help them a lot. Um, but I think for the foreseeable future, I think Tesla has gotten to a point, and this is a really fascinating question. Uh, Tesla has gotten to a point, I believe, where they've become quite good at building cars. They've become quite good at building cars. So their generation one production line and their generation one processes over time for the new product lines will have less costs that you can take out because they're reaching they're getting closer and closer to the perfect production line. They'll never hit it, but it's kind of like a log curve almost, right? Like or like an exponential curve that's going the other way. It's your efficiency around taking out costs is going to get worse over time because you've just done such a good job to start with. So Cybertruck will probably be because it's the first of its kind. There'll probably be costs that they'll be able to take out over time for sure for Cybertruck. But the compact car, as an example, they'll make improvements over time, but they'll have a pretty good step change from Model Y, Model 3 to this compact car. But because the cost of that car is already going to be probably half of the Model 3 and the Y, the dollars you can yank out of there is not going to be as large as say the Model S production line, right? So there you could yank out probably tens of thousands of dollars of cost over time. So it used to be a taking out cost equation, and now it's turning into a scale equation, I believe. Have you asked Corey or Sandy this question? Because I think that they could probably give you the best answer on this.
Yeah, yeah. So Corey asked the same question, and most people I've been asking agree with the volume strategy.
Yeah.
You've got two factories; they're at 50% scale right now. They need to get them to at least 80%. Corey's answer was that if you run a business, the first thing you want to do is scale it to reduce all your costs and maximum scale. And so
Sure.
for me, it was a no-brainer. As a long-term investor in Tesla, I'm 100% happy that they cut the prices of the car, uh, sacrificing margin, but they had to. I keep saying to folks, come on, remember that a year ago when we were all at the grand opening of Giga Texas and Giga Berlin a month before, they were just open. And so, would you rather them stop the those factories, therefore reduce volume, so that you can maintain high margins and sell those cars, or do you want to just keep pumping out as many cars as you can because you can reduce your cost as you keep doing it with the volume?
Wait, there's people on the former camp where they want them to stop the volume
They
to get
don't
the
say it
margins
that
up.
way. What they say is, I really don't like the strategy that Tesla's doing by cutting price. They should keep the price high so that the margins are high because they're getting hammered with the stock because of the forward-looking margin compression.
That makes no sense.
And I'm like, why they advertise instead of cut price of the car. And I'm like, well,
So
they need to
subsidize the
increase.
volume through advertising is what they're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm saying increase the volume, build. You can't make that stop. Just sell, build as many you can. And then in order to sell, there's going to be demand issues. And because we're in a macro, I'm not one of those people that is saying that there is no demand issue. There is in a macro. It kind of like it changes like that on a daily basis. And so for me, it's like build as much as you can. If you build too much, you need to cut the price of the car. I'm okay because the price cut will make the it, and it's already showing it today that it increased the sales of the cars of Tesla. They're dominating everywhere. They'll make it up in FSD volume in the future. Anyways, so for me, that was that was where I was, and it sounds like you were in favor of the price cuts as well.
Yeah, I mean, price cuts make perfect sense. The Tesla's long term goal is to advance the avenue of sustainable transport. You don't get again. It's like you can't get there with expensive cars. Now, the advertising equation is an interesting one because I've long been on the camp of the advertising is not in the DNA of Tesla because Tesla's core mission is to get the cost as low as humanly possible, and that's why Elon was shocked yesterday when the majority of investors in that room were like, "Oh wow, you're going to start advertising? Hell yeah, let's celebrate it." You can see it in his face. I mean, he said it himself. I'm surprised. That's proof that it's not part of the DNA of the company. The company is not trying to sell you a car by telling you to buy it. They're trying to sell you a car because of the merits of the product, and it's so much better than everything else that you have no choice but to buy it. It's an undeniable product. So um, I feel like the folks that we might have our cake and eat it too in a way, right? We might get the volume and we might get the margins.
Well,
Now that
and
Tesla's willing to try
yeah,
advertising,
my
potentially.
answer
We'll
to
see.
that was that the ultimate goal of Tesla at this point, and they should relentlessly get here, is get the price of an EV Tesla cars to be equivalent or cheaper than a nice car. And it doesn't matter if they were selling this like crazy, and they can have huge margins, and there was unlimited demand. They should
Yeah.
still get it to be below the ICE car once and for all. Kill the ICE cars, make it happen. Once you've now there, and we're almost there. We're really there, as you've pointed out. Many of your analysis, we're pretty well there already. And then
Yes.
once you're there, go ahead and advertise. Go ahead and do all that stuff. But you don't keep the price high in order to have high margins, in order to be a profitable company. It is already very, very profitable, by the way. That's the other thing that I laugh at. You're pissed off that it went from 20% auto gross margin to 18% auto gross margin. I mean, damn.
Well,
I mean,
it went from 20, it went from like 29 to 18 in the span of a year
well,
and a half.
if you,
Right? But again, a
but
lot of it is macro. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
because I've been pointing those. I feel like I'm repeating myself. But in 2018, when Model 3 came out, when 2020, the Model Y came out, they came out at a price point, and then they had a margin because it was a brand new factory, brand new line. And then COVID hit, supply chain hit, cost of goods went up, and then the demand for these cars went up. And so Tesla raised prices like crazy. And so then we were all very, what's the word, just lucky that we were able to, greedy, seeing 30% gross margins. Now they brought it back down and everybody's pissed off, but it's the same price as it was at the times that they first launched. So
Mhm.
if that did not happen, if COVID did not happen, we would be at the same price point we are today, if not cheaper than what it is
Mhm.
today. So it's not like it
Sure.
was this weird, it's ridiculous to talk about a 30% gross margin. A 20% gross margin is great compared to the 7.5% that other auto manufacturers are doing. Anyways, so yeah,
So I
volume
slightly
versus
disagree. I slightly
yeah.
disagree. I think under the right macro environments and with a certain level of awareness from the population that are maybe now considering a Tesla where they wouldn't have, I think 30% margin is very much should be realistic. I think, especially with
I
Cybertruck
think it's
out
going to happen.
as a higher,
That's what I
yeah, with
yeah.
Cybertruck out, yeah.
And also, this is what we're talking about. This is the topic, right? Let's go through the list of things that's going to happen. So first of all, they showed a slide showing the Model 3, they were able to reduce its cost by 30% from 2018 to 2022. This is before the scaling of the factories. This is before the all the new innovations that they were able to do with Model Y. And so now they're going to be able to do the unboxing process, and over time that will add to cost reduction. the long-term supply chain partnerships that they keep striking. The one most recent was with Samsung deal. These things, at this point, every president, CEO of every company is dying to be a partner with Tesla because they can guarantee 2 million, 4 million car sales per year and almost guarantee that that's going to happen versus would you pick any other car manufacturer and hope
Right.
that they're going to get to 100,000, 200,000 sales? So all the best long-term, contracts will go to Tesla. And then they've got they're building down the batteries, like you said, the lithium refinery, and they're trying to secure that up as well. So all of these things. And then the big news yesterday was Alexandra asked the question, tell us what margin you're expecting if FSD works and you got the software as a service and all these other things packed in. And he said 80%. That is awesome. That is what I needed to hear because basically that's the goal, right? The goal is to have high margins. Like you said, you're going to have both the best of both worlds. You're going to be able to sell in volume, but have high significant margins, just like Apple. That's what they're doing. And the more that, now that Apple has kind of like can't grow the volume anymore, but they can keep growing their margins because they're going to keep growing their software as a service, their entertainment and all that, the packages you're buying. And that's where this is going. This is exactly where it's headed. And we're at the early stages. So the people who are concerned about the margins being compressed and that he's willing to bring it down to zero to sell, that was just a statement that he made in case I was pushed to the wall. I'm going to sell. I'm going to sell as many volume. He said it. And so that's exactly what I expect them to do. And then the more you sell, the more you're able to increase your margin. That's like
and it's not even
reduced today.
It's not even the more you sell, it's the market share that you can take away from other people that will be selling a transportation solution during the same time. The margin equation within that context is irrelevant. If you look at Tesla and how they perform versus the rest of the auto market in Q1, the reason why it's going to be the best selling car globally, the Model Y in the entire world with zero advertising, is because they have the right combination of feature set and price and awareness that where people are willing to buy the car. And what that means is that more people are buying Tesla versus everybody else. And so if that means their margins are going down, I have news for you. Everyone else's margins are also going to go down and their scale is also going to go down. So it's a reflection of macro, and it's not a reflection of Tesla's ability to sell cars, to your point. It's a reflection of macro. Now, the super interesting piece around the 80% number that he threw out there. So we can do some very simple math to figure out how Tesla is thinking about revenues, right, for cars. So if he's saying, let me just clarify this with you, just make sure you and I heard the same thing. He said 80% on the car business, correct? He said 80% margins on the car business, right? He didn't say 80% margin on FSD. He said that the car will go from about 20% to 80%, right? Okay. Super simple math. Check this out. So let's assume that Tesla's average cost to build a car in the next couple years, don't know if it's right or wrong, but let's say it's $40,000. Let's say it's $35,000. The cost on the average car is $35,000. Okay. So if you are to make 80% margin on a car that costs $35,000, you take 35,000, you divide it by 0.2, and that tells you the revenue, right? So that's 170. So they expect to make $175,000 of revenue on their average car sold if their cars cost around $35,000 to manufacture, right? But that's what Tesla makes. That's what Tesla makes. So that's the revenue share number is the next thing we need to figure out, right? Is it 50-50? Is it 70-30? I'm guessing this number is probably it's probably 50-50 if I were to guess. And so that implies that the owner of the car is probably making upwards of, I don't know, over $100,000, well over $100,000 on one transportation unit. But then we also need to know the time scale, right? There's a lot of moving pieces there. But that number is very important because we can actually sit down and model. We can sit down and model and say, this is how Tesla's thinking about it. This is the number they threw out there. Even if it's 60%, at least we kind of understand the range of where it's at. And it backs up what Tesla has been trying to do from a strategy perspective, which is long term doing SaaS margins, right? So software as a service, which Elon on the thing was like, what is SAS? And Alexander should have said SaaS, SaaS, instead of saying SAS. It's okay, Alexander. I still love you. But yeah, it's fascinating to watch now. Now we have actual numbers. Now we have a real thing that we can go after, and then on top of that, Elon's like the majority of the business long term is going to be bot. There might be a 1-to-1 bot to human ratio long term, and where are we going? What's happening here? Seems like the world is transforming, right? It really does seem like the world is transforming right before our eyes, but it will take time. It will take time, and it's just really exciting to see Tesla at the forefront of this whole thing. And
Yeah.
yeah,
So
it's wild.
as an auto business, okay, if FSD, that's the thing that people can't get past. If FSD, and if it does, then everybody's going, okay, 80% gross margins, great, because the FSD was definitely a big part of that calculation. Okay,
Yeah.
so what we just said here is that without FSD, I just listed out 5 things, right, that they can do, that they are doing to reduce cost even further. And
Hmm.
so if this is a, which I don't like. I know some people are going, "Oh, I'm so happy that Tesla raised the price again by $1,000 or $250." That means that that's the trough. That's the lowest the margin's going to fall now. And I'm like, that is variable pricing. They're going to raise it. They're going to lower it. They're going to raise it. That doesn't mean that they're never going to lower it again. They should, if it needs to be that week, that day. But okay, let's let these people say that that's the trough. Okay, great. So then you've got that, but then we know that Tesla's really relentless in lowering more cost. So more, we know that these factories are only at 50% scale, and they're going to get to 80%, 100 growth of the scale, and that's going to reduce cost for production. We know that they are building the unboxing process of brand new factories. So at least for those factories, it will do that. And like I said, the raw materials, the vertical integration. I mean, we can go through a bunch more of where the cost could appear, even before FSD. But
Right.
his 80% is FSD. So that's where I think that even if there's no FSD, the margins are going to just go back up again. And now you've got the high margin and you've got high volume of sales. And by the other question I want to ask you is that why is it that people can't understand that you can be both a premium product but also a low cost leader? Why can't you be both? People seem to think that you have to be a premium product. You can't. You got to have your price, otherwise people are going to value you differently. You got to keep that price equivalent to that. I'm like, what if you do both? Holy, crap! What is wrong with that?
Yeah. Well, I think the concept of premium is strange to me, right? Because if you think about technology, the cell phone, this thing that's cracked 7 days to Sunday because I don't know how to take care of a phone. It's dirty as hell. Sorry, everybody. That's super passionate about keeping their phones clean and not shattered. Oops. Um, it's funny because I put on the shell after I cracked my phone.
So they prevent their smart bars out.
Further cracks. Yeah, let's tell you how cheap I am with my phones. Um, there was a day where back when I was growing up as a teenager, before the iPhone came out, everybody had the flip phones or the different the Nokia phones and all that stuff, and you had super fancy phones too. You had like the super duper fancy phones, and then the iPhone came out. And the iPhone was like, wow, dude, this thing is awesome, super premium, right? But then over time, what happened? Literally everybody in the Western world has no one knows what the hell you have anymore. Everybody has this. And what this is a tool for humans to access the world's information anywhere we are. And it also has a camera, and it has a microphone, and it has a bunch of sensors that track everything you do, and everybody knows what you're doing at all times, which is probably not a good thing, but that's a separate discussion for a different video. So transportation, I think, is going to go down that path over time. It's going to shift away from, there will still be niche automakers like your Ferraris, your Lamborghinis, all these guys that make super dope cars that cater to a very small percentage of the population. I think those will exist for quite a while still, until they literally outlaw driving, which there's a debate if that's good or bad, but that's again a separate discussion. So those will continue to exist, and then 80% of the market or more is going to be like this. it's going to be this thing, right?
Yeah.
And so in that context, it's not really premium or not premium. It's really what's the thing that's going to give people what they're looking for in a product, right? Apple makes itself seem like a premium brand, but an iPhone 12 and a Samsung S20. See, even my dogs are passionate about this discussion. Okay, the iPhone 12 and the Samsung S20, whatever they're at now, and whoever else makes smartphones, it's basically the same thing. And so I think that's where Tesla's going, and it's 100% aligned with their long-term mission of, again, really driving the advent of sustainable transport. So I've never been able to buy that argument. Yes, the S and X are beautiful, luxurious products, just like a Porsche 911, just like a Ferrari 458, just like a freaking Pagani, right? They're just gorgeous cars and they're awesome. But that is not what Tesla is. Tesla is a company that's trying to build as many cars as humanly possible by doing it in a way that captivates the imagination of people. And they're like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing I've ever experienced. I can't. Tesla's mission is to be able to sell a $25,000 car, and people get in there and they're like, I cannot believe I own this thing. And it's the greatest thing I've ever experienced in my life. I am shocked that I'm able to pay $500 a month for everything, and I can have the acceleration of a Porsche. It feels as premium as anything I've ever experienced in my life, and it drives me around. And I feel like I have an invisible chauffeur with me at all times, and I have my privacy. That is
The
Tesla.
other thing
That's what
people
Tesla
are
does.
forgetting, I think, is two things. So one is segmentation. So they can segment all day long, and so you can have the high premium ones, and you can have
Yep.
the low cost. And why not? You can have both. Is it a damage to the brand Tesla? You know, if and I think there was certainly some brands. Somebody was telling me that they made a mistake. I think it was Corey saying that Mercedes made a mistake when they rolled out the C class, where it was just not a Mercedes,
Mm.
and it was so low cost that it did damage the brand. So it can happen. But then there's companies like Apple that will sell you. You know, you can buy a $300 Apple iPhone. Just different branding. Now, the other thing is that once you buy the car, you can sell them so many things to up that margin. I mean, I think it's ridiculous that people pay $2,000 to get a 0.6 second increase in the acceleration. You know, like what? You know, you just like go
Yeah.
on the app and you go, here's 2 grand. Why? So that the car will go faster at 0 to 60.
Hell yeah.
Just like there's so many little things like that that they're adding that just boosts up, you know, then how you add up, you know, I wanted special wheels and all that. Now accessories, there's going to be internal CyberTruck accessories team. They're going to be able to make up that margin in all sorts of ways. And as they move towards services, but he did make it sound like it's a long way away. And I'm not going to, we don't need to focus on entertainment and all that right now. That's the future. So like in a way, he said robotaxi's coming, full self driving's coming, but robotaxi could be a long ways away, and he won't. You know, right now it's the focus on FSD. If FSD works, then we can start working about all these other revenue streams that's going to come.
Right. Yeah. But the opportunity is there. The potential is there, and that's where the long term story of Tesla is. That's the piece that, again, once that robotaxi quantification comes to reality, where people can actually see it in the profit and loss statement and on the balance sheet starting to show up in cold hard cash, that's well beyond what people expected, and it's 100% driven by software. That's where this entire discussion goes from what if Tesla can do it to how far can Tesla take this? And then that's where the argument will be. That the valuation will be based on, well, I think they can do this at 20% market share. I think they can do this at 50% market share. I think they can do this at 10% market share. Right now, the valuation is at 0% market share. Right. And then the crazy thing about this concept is that the 10% market share is a gigantic number. The 50% market share is a stupid
Yeah.
number. And then the bot is going to be bigger than those. Okay? So it's going to be it's such a fun thing to track, man.
I said
It's
this
such a fun.
yesterday,
Yeah.
and it was just a quick reaction on my part, but actually, even today, I still believe it. Okay. My comment was this. Okay. So we saw the bot video. You saw the bot video.
Yes. Yes.
And if I did my due diligence and I saw a company, not Tesla, roll out that bot video, and I do my due diligence, and I confirm that this is real. This is not CGI. It's not been made up. It really can do all that. I would go all in on that company. I would invest my money in that company, even they haven't sold a single bot yet. Now that's me
Hmm.
because I'm in growth mode. I'm trying to, 10x, 20x my money. Maybe not all in. I'm not that stupid. I'm not yeah. It's like when you said 100%, I'm like that.
Yeah.
That's
You
a
would
little
be
bit
like
else.
you would be like that looks like insane potential. I have to get in there. That would be the mentality, right?
If it validated what I saw, right? This bot
Yeah.
moving, walking, it's be able to grab things and move it, and it's able to learn on its own, and then it proven that this brains is able to teach itself. And then now it's almost like a straight line calculation of how many bots can they build and how cheap is it to build those bots. And they've already saying that it's actually fairly inexpensive to break. There's no issue with this company because they have these manufacturing uh, expertise. They've got factories. They know they've got all the parts that they built themselves. He made a big point about that every part here is our Tesla design. That vertical integration allows them to control their future. They can build it. They can build it cheap. They can scale it up. Okay, we know that
Right.
obviously a startup wouldn't have that, but let's say it was a spin-off and they had a partnership with a company that had all that. So manufacturing is going to be costly, and I see that this potential of this product. And then just like you said earlier, and we all understand, if bot works, this is crazy potential for, like you have to validate, are people going to buy this or not? So there's that
Of course
risk.
they are.
Well, so you just said, of course you are, and I think we all say that. But then, what if there's not, right? Like, what if people are afraid of the bots, and then what if you're right? I don't know. I just, but
No.
again, you and I can see clearly the use cases where people would buy this. But that's another scenario, right? You can see this thing doing all these things. But what if it can't fold laundry? And it can't do dishes because it's just, yes, I can do a nice demo grabbing this thing, but it can't, when it tries to dishes, it'll break it or something like that.
Mhm.
Then all of a sudden, what use cases? And it's manufacturing firms, and there's still tons. Anyways, I said, when I saw that thing, just that alone, I'd already invested in this company. And yet
Mhm.
we have people here invested in Tesla saying, oh, those are lottery tickets. Yes, they're lottery tickets, but every year that goes along, every time you see a milestone like this, those lottery tickets don't become just a lottery ticket. They become like more and more likely. Like the odds are in your favor each year. It gets the odds probability changes, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
know. So
I mean,
did you feel the same way as I did?
yeah, I was quite surprised. It's just, I see stuff about the bot. I get super excited. I'm like, damn, this thing's going to be insane. And then I forget about it because I'm like, it's still far. Right. And then I'm like, okay, but full self driving. I literally have, you know, as Gally and others and Elon have called I have my robot on wheels in my driveway that I literally get to experience this firsthand. And I'm doing recording podcasts for my robot on wheels right now, today. And so I'm just excited about that. But now, yesterday's video, again, it went from, oh, it's gonna walk to, hey, look, it's walking, but it's not defined like the newest version. Oh, hey, look, it's doing a little arm movement, but it's tether and it's not walking. Oh, now it's walking with a tether. Oh, now there's six of them walking. Oh, now they're picking up stuff with their hands and stuff, and they're doing useful things, kind of. Oh, wow. Okay, what happened? They went from nothing to this in like a year and a half, and it's all internal. And they're really the only ones that are doing this. Boston Dynamics are doing their own too, and they're a phenomenal company that's truly state of the art. But they're not solving, I believe, for the mass scale, useful humanoid robot that's going to have a hand that will be extremely useful and it will be affordable by the masses. That's not. I don't think. Doesn't seem like that's Boston Dynamics' long term goal, which is fine. They can do. They have every right to do whatever they want. They're a phenomenal company. But Tesla's solving the long term mass market question around having a thing that's going to free up your time. The most valuable currency, Elon has brought this up as he's talking about time. The most valuable currency in the world. And I think all of us would agree. If there's one thing none of us can get back is time. I was having an awesome conversation with somebody from the community yesterday about like time and spending time with family and stuff. Is like ultimately that's what's most important. And now Tesla, a car company, is working on a humanoid robot that's going to allow human beings to get back the most valuable currency in the world that exists for humans to actually use. And how is this not going to be the greatest success of all time if it works? if it works, right? But track record,
Every product will
what
be a
is
lot
the
cheaper. Yeah.
yes,
Um,
everything will be a lot cheaper. Everything.
yeah. So yes, I was talking to Scott Walter about this, and he said that even the way the bots are today, just what you saw, okay, they don't have to sell it to anybody because Tesla is a car manufacturer. They have factories, big factories. They hire 100, what did they say, 130,000 employees today,
Yeah.
right? And we saw, I don't know if you saw this, but a Chinese media company was given a tour of Shanghai, Giga Shanghai, and then they showed the video of inside Giga Shanghai. And then Scott paused the video and goes, see that video right here? There was a worker whose job was to, there's other bots, right? Big giant bots that are coming in and moving, and big giant parts being moving, right? And it's very dangerous for a human worker. So they are caged. But then a human worker needs to go inside this kind of like getting close to the cage and to put they feed the part that the bot will grab and then put it into the car or wherever it is, right? And then that job of the human worker is, but the human worker, to be safe, cannot walk into this area until the green light turns on. That means that the bots are away and it's safe for you to go in and feed it. Then it goes red, then it goes green. You go in, and he goes, stop the video because it was so beautiful. He goes, did you see what happened? The human worker made a mistake because obviously it just happens where he started walking in when it was red. And then, so then, beep, 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 he had to stop the line, step out. It was happened very quickly, press the button, reset everything, and do it again. So what he was saying is that if you take a bot, the bot can do that today, just that. It doesn't have to be walking, doesn't have to be fine motor control. It can easily grab that thing and put it to that spot, grab that thing and move it to that spot. And the
Sure.
savings to Tesla is he calculated like $300,000 for one person. And it's more than that, right? Because it's like you can have it 3 shifts a day, that blah, 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 blah. So even Tesla alone, so even if you don't believe that the bot is the future, it's not ready now, if Tesla starts showing that it works in their factory, just cost of, we were talking about profitability and margins of cars, that's a huge percentage of the margin. The cost of goods is not the cost of goods, but the cost of the salaries of people, right? So
Sure.
that's
No,
going to plummet
100%.
operating margin. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I still think that the bot will 100% do that. The key thing in a manufacturing environment is that you need a reliable process. Even though the human made a mistake, the bot has to be able to not make a mistake. Uh, it has to make less mistakes than the human for it to be a viable thing to be used,
Yeah.
because that's sort of the bar that we have to set. So I don't think the bot's there yet, and I know Scott's super passionate about this and he's super right about it becoming a reality. I still we're not here today, but once they can prove that reliability, making sure that the battery can last more than like 5 minutes, making sure that it's not going to fall down on the production line and then pause the entire process. The last thing you want is your line to go down. One small mistake can bring your entire line down. And I think there is probably too much risk of putting a alpha bot in a production line today. But there will come a time, a year, 6 months, 5 years, I don't know when what he
It's not
described
really
will
five years. Yeah.
100% become a reality,
The
right?
point being
Yeah.
that you don't need to have a general use robot that can do everything and anything. You can have a robot that does
100%.
it just for that specific, very small task, and automatically already save money by replacing a human that used to do that today. And they're just repetitive. These are just repetitive, and it's actually better because it's the risk you're taking with a human is much worse.
Sure.
And so yeah, but you can design the robot, build it now, perfect it for that use case, that one use case. You don't have to wait for all this. And then it's already saving Tesla $200,000-$300,000 a year. That's immediately. So
Yeah, but I think perfecting the use case for a narrow thing is the wrong strategy for what they're trying to build.
right.
As long as you can do it through software, sure. Doing it through hardware is a different story, because then you have to build a manufacturing line that specializes
Yeah,
for that type
we're
of
not.
robot, right? You're
Yeah,
talking
we're not
software.
talking about replacing the hand. Some people are going, well, you can replace the hand and put a drill in it. You don't need to. The
No,
robot
no,
can
no.
grab the drill and put it, use it just like we
Yeah.
normally do. So no, I'm
Yes.
not talking about. I'm not talking about that scenario where you're going to have this very specific robot with the different arms or whatever. No, 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 no. I'm talking about just, here you only need the bot to walk 5 feet forward, 5 feet backwards. Might not need to be able to, do anything other than grab and put. Just
Yes.
that alone is already valuable to Tesla today because they're a massive manufacturing company with 130,000 employees doing all sorts of kind of jobs. You can find
Yes.
5, 10 right now and immediately save millions of dollars to Tesla in 3 months from now. So
Yes.
that's the first step that they might show because they themselves will be the customer because they're so massive as a company and they have so much cost. So anyway, that's the
Yes.
exciting part.
Yeah. Very
Yeah.
exciting.